Good morning, my wonderful friends. It's Roger, Mud Fossil University. I discovered soft tissue in giant human beings and had it tested for DNA, and it was human, and it still is, and I have them, and they are available for being tested. They're talking about what does soft tissue and dinosaur bones mean to evolution. And what it means is that they're talking about evolution thousands, millions of years ago, all this stuff happened. No, it's not. It's just very, very recent. And I have the proof. They have the proof. We have the proof. It exists everywhere. The problem is with the university system, academics, they have been indoctrinated into a belief that this is all nonsense, that it was all from a big bang of nothing that developed into everything. All of this, there's nothing to do with creation. There's nothing to do with God. That is the problem, and they are in deep, deep trouble right now because it's just so obvious that they are now frauds and literally liars, because this has been sent out for years, at least 10 years. This goes back to 2011, this research. Mine goes back to the same time, too. I had DNA reports, CAT scans, specimens, all that 6 years ago. Tried to present them everywhere, nobody would accept them. So we're dealing with a batch of people that have no regard for reality whatsoever, no truth. Academic system's completely fraudulent at this point. So let's take it from there. Now, if you have kids or whatever, you don't want them to see human body parts that are, sexual body parts, vaginas and penises. You probably shouldn't let them watch the rest, because that's about what you're going to see. Okay, this is on the surface of the earth, all the things I'm talking about. So it didn't happen that long ago. They're not buried very deep in the earth. Some of them are a little bit buried, but not much. Now, this is the Tracian womb cave. If you look at that tiny split right up the middle, that is where the blastula folds over and seams and creates the abdominal cavity, and the rest is pretty obvious. Now, it also appears that there is a baby in this creature that was trying to be expelled, and that's the face of the baby. You can see this side's perfectly normal. This side here has bulged out, and there may be more than one baby in here. I don't know. And I don't know if that's right or not, but I can tell you one thing, that's a vagina. Case closed on that. Now, what else? Do we have more of those? Oh yeah, we got lots of those. Every woman had one, it appears. There's a vagina cave. There's that split again. Here's one up in the Baltics. There's that seam again. And these are the vaginal ripples that are inside. I've done a lot of research on vaginas, trust me. This one has a baby inside the cavity here. There was giants in the earth in those days. In the earth in those days. All right. Now, mine are on the surface of the earth, all the things that I have. Now let me show you, if there's vaginas, it was obviously penises. And if we could find one that was circumcised, that would be pretty interesting to me. Well, that looks like a circumcised penis to me. And they were that big. That's a person standing there. These creatures were miles tall. This one here, also circumcised. That's not a toadstool or anything sticking up there. That was a penis. And here's one that somebody built a house into. Where's a penis house? That's a circumcised penis, and there's the house. They made a house out of it. These things, and let me show you the Petra treasury. This was all carved from the bodies of the creatures that died. Now, a lot of it turned into mud, because that is what mud is decayed flesh. It's eroded flesh. All right, now this is Petra, and I believe it's in Jordan. This is the flesh of a gigantic creature, and they worked it when it was moist, it appears to me, and they were highly skilled. These weren't monkeys running around in the woods that did this. And then inside the treasury, they call this the treasury, I believe, and inside the treasury is nothing but flesh. It's just flesh. They carved it out when it was still wet. This is literally tendinous material. They had some kind of machines here. They were built to do the specific job. You see, these are tank tread looking things that scrub, and then they had wheels in there. You could drive on the regular surfaces, and then you could drive on these wet surfaces and cut these slabs. They must have had some kind of machine that slabbed these things out, and then they built walls out of them. That is tendinous material. These cuts were somebody cut them. Then they built those walls in the background. Look at this carefully. This is tendinous. These are little tiny fibers, and I'm going to show you the anatomical. If you cut across them, there's a bazillion little fibers in here, and they make these wavy, tough straps. That's tendon, and that's what they cut and made most of the stuff of. Very little was made from the actual flesh. In Jordan, at Petra, they did use the flesh, and they use them in a lot of places, but the tendon was the preferable. Where you see the walls built in South America, and you have all these little bumps on them, the bumps are left over from tendons, a different type. Well, I'll show you. These are tendons. They made slides out of them. The kids can slide on them. This is the slurpy material. It's called small leucine-rich proteins that cover them and coat them as, a fabric that coats them. These are the tendons, just like this. And these are the little tiny spots on the fibers. And this is what gives you the ability to flex and move around. They're in these chunks. And then they still have to move. So every one of them is separate. These are not basalt columns. These are separated by what's called fascia. And it's a very thin, slurpy material that sits in between every one of these and coats them so that they can slide amongst their neighbors and without being broken. And they can twist and bend and do all these things. They're tough as hell. You see that? This is really good stuff. This is tendon. And every one of these little bumps was a strap. I'll show you the straps. See, here it is again. This was a test wall, I think, to figure out how they were going to use these. And that, you can see, is a broken off tendon strap. It ran right over to a ball that embedded it in another place. All right, these are the tendon mats, and that's where they break the little stubs off them, and they use these, cut these flat, and they made them into walls. The balls stuck down in here, and these balls are all over the place, these gigantic balls that they have no idea where they came from. That's where they're from, tendons. All tendons have these straps and balls, ligaments, tendons, all of that stuff. These are hard as hell, and then they have a strap running from them. They embed in different ways in different parts of the body. There's different structures, basically, but they all have these balls. Some of them have cross hatches inside. Some of them are like eggshells, one on top of the other. But I fully understand them now. If anybody wants to know about this stuff, I have a lot of details. And like I said, they get very big. This is one of those straps. This is one of those balls. This was flesh. It all eroded away. Why, I can't say. But there's another ball here. It connected right up to that hole. That strap came down. It's just like they snapped these off right here, and they used the tendon mats to build walls. Now, there was gigantic creatures. There was normal-sized creatures. I have both on my own property. I have three DNA tests. Two of them were from giants, and one of them from one of our size, all on the surface of the earth. I didn't have to dig for them. They were right there. So don't tell me this stuff isn't long. It was billions and billions of years ago, way deep in the ground. No, it's sitting right on the top of the ground. This stuff happened, in my estimation, I can't tell you exactly when, but Velikovsky talks about maybe 3,500 years ago. That's all. 3,500 years ago this happened. So when they talk about soft tissue in a dinosaur being a big deal, that shows that evolution isn't correct. I agree, evolution is correct, but the dinosaur thing was, they wouldn't even be a tick to one of these creatures. You see, that isn't even, you could just barely see that with a microscope now. Just think of Tyrannosaurus Rex going to be this big, or whatever big he is, you won't even know he was there. So this is a whole new realm of our evolution that we should pay attention to. Because everything that was written, in my estimation now, we really have to rethink it all. Because I was told, yeah, that's all nonsense. You'd have to be insane to think anything. And I was told that by, well, I'm not going to go into it deeply, but I was told that I'm delusional, insane. I must be crazy to think this stuff. And showing the evidence and still being told that by someone who is a psychologist. So we know what we're up against. We're up against a wall of denial from academia. It's a literal wall of denial. They cannot allow this to be known because they lose their credibility. And they've totally lost it as far as I'm concerned. There's not a credible person in academia that I could find. None. Zero. Show me one. Send someone to me that is from academia that will talk to me about this. Zero in 10 years. CAT scans, DNA tests, specimens. You saw the evidence. Not one single academic will respond. All right? If you're one, let's see you respond.